Hello,
Hello and welcome to this course.
this is the first course in the series of many courses which I'll be doing on Linux operating system. There are many OS available, but we'll see why we choose Linux. Linux uses GNU, General Public License, GPL, which is free. It is free as well as open source, meaning that it gives the freedom to use, study, share and modify the software. As far as the programming is concerned, Linux follows POSIX standards specified by IEEE for maintaining compatibility between operating systems such as Unix and other variants. We will dive deep in Linux in other detailed courses, like shell script. Here, we will learn about shells such as sh, bash, and many others, editors such as vi, emacs, detailed shell commands. This will be done in very much detail. Next course will be understanding Linux kernel and writing device drivers. Maybe next, real-time operating system, RTOS. Other will be debugging in Linux, how to debug applications written in Linux using Linux Debugger, GDB, and analyzing the code dumps. Next will be embedded system. This course will have all about embedded system. Others will be programming language like C and C++ with data structures. Next, compilers, GCC and G++ in details. So, as the first step, we're going to learn about its installation.
Hello and welcome to this course. Apart from regular explanations, I will be giving you some important tips and tricks throughout the course. It may be some definitions or sometimes do's and don'ts.
So, in this course, we'll be covering the very basic idea of operating system in Linux. Then we will see the background of Fedora and Ubuntu. After that, we'll come to the configuration and installation of Fedora. Then we will see the live installation of Ubuntu.
I have tailored the material here for the beginners. No special sophistication in computer is needed. Any typical Microsoft Windows user should be able to understand the instructions here and install Linux in less than an hour's time. Throughout the session, we'll learn the background of Fedora and its installation. Using this session, you can install Fedora on desktops, laptops, and servers, even if you have no previous knowledge of Linux or computer networks.
Let us start with operating system and Linux and see what really operating system is and what is Linux. So let us hear what is operating system by definition.
As per Wiki, the definition of operating system is a software that manages computer hardware and software resources, and provides common services for computer programs. The operating system is an essential component of the system's software in a computer system. Application programs usually require an operating system to function.
Okay, let me explain it in some detail.
The operating system is the most important program that runs on computer. Every general purpose computer must have an operating system to run other programs. Operating system performs basic tasks such as recognizing input from the keyboard, sending output to the display screen, keeping track of files and directories on the disk, and controlling peripheral devices such as disk drives and printers. Operating system provide a software platform on top of other programs called application programs. The application programs must be written to run on top of particular operating system. Your choice of operating system therefore determines to a great extent the application you can run. For PCs, the most popular operating system are Windows, Mac, but others are available, such as Linux.
So, what is Linux by definition?
As per Wiki, the definition of Linux is a Unix-like and mostly POSIX-compliant computer operating system assembled under the model of free and open-source software development and distribution. The defining component of Linux is the Linux kernel, an operating system kernel first released on 5 October 1991 by Linus Torvalds.
Okay, let me explain it in some detail.
Linux is an operating system. It is a software on the computer that enables applications in the computer operator to access the device on the computer to perform desired functions. The operating system relays instructions from the application to, for instance, the computer processor. The processor performs the instructed task and then sends the result back to the application via the operating system. So the question is, why we choose Linux? The Linux is an operating system which is freely distributable. This is cross-platform operating system based on Unix that can be installed on PCs, laptops, netbooks, mobiles and tablet devices, video game consoles, servers, supercomputers and many more. As far as the performance is concerned, Linux is very fast. You can forget about viruses. Okay, one question. Have you ever lost the precious works because Windows crashed? Do you always shut down your computer in the proper way? Have you ever gotten the blue screen of death or error messages telling you that the computer needs to be shut down for obscure reasons? But if you install Linux, then you can run your system as much as you can, leaving your computer on all the time. You can go on like that for years without having any trouble. If you install Linux, then you can forget about drivers. Linux doesn't need separate drivers. All the drivers are already included in the Linux kernel, the core of the system, and that comes with every single Linux installation. Why copy software illegally if you can get it for free? As I already told you, Linux is completely free. You can enjoy free and unlimited support. The Linux is frequently packaged as a Linux distribution for both desktop and server use and include the Linux kernel, the core of the operating system, as well as support tools and libraries. Popular Linux distributions include Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and of course, Fedora. This course is about Fedora, how to install Fedora.
First, we will see the background of Fedora and Ubuntu, and then we'll see how to install them. Okay, Fedora is a Linux-based operating system that is free and open source software. Fedora is always free for anyone to use, modify and distribute. Fedora is a Linux distribution that is partly sponsored by Red Hat and is released every 6 to 8 months or so. Okay, let me explain in some more detail.
As in previous section, we saw that Linux is a free open source operating system based on Unix. Fedora is just the name of the vendor who provides Linux in commercial use. Similarly, there are currently over 600 Linux distributions, over 300 of which are in active development, constantly being revised and improved. The Linux kernel is released under the GNU General Public License.
Ubuntu will always be free of charge, and there will be no extra fees for Enterprise Edition also. Ubuntu is shipped in stable and regular release cycles. You can use the current stable release or the current development release. A release will be supported for 18 months. Ubuntu is suitable for both desktop and server use. Ubuntu includes more than 1000 pieces of software, starting with the Linux kernel version 3.2 and GNOME 3.4, and covering every standard desktop application from word processor and spreadsheet applications to internet access applications, web server software, email software, programming language and tools, and of course, several games. Coming to the configuration and installation of Fedora. So, where to get the media for Fedora? You can download a Fedora image from fedoraproject.org. Insert your DVD into the DVD tray and restart your computer, making sure from the BIOS that your CD-ROM is the first booting device.
In the later part of the session, whatever screenshot you will see, those are captured from the Fedora DVD installation. So now, let's start our journey of Linux installation. Here, you can see so many options are there to install the Fedora. First option is install or upgrade an existing system. Second option is in the text mode. You have to install Fedora in the text mode. Third option is the rescue mode, in which it provides the ability to boot a small Fedora environment entirely from DVD-ROM instead of the system's hard drive. As the name implies, rescue mode is provided to rescue you from something. During normal operation, your Fedora system uses files that are located on your computer's hard drive to do everything: run programs, store your files, and many more. However, there may be times when you're unable to get Fedora running completely to access files on your system's hard drive. Using rescue mode, you can access the files stored on your system's hard drive even if you cannot actually run Fedora from that hard drive. Fourth option is boot from local drive. In this, OS will boot from the local drive. Fifth one is memory test. In this, your RAM will be tested before installation. This option is to check the DVD media whether it is working fine or not. This is the welcome screen of Fedora. Fedora installer is called as Anaconda. Please select the language that you like to use during installation. Similarly, select the appropriate keyboard layout for your system. Now here comes the warning message. This warning message is about the hard drive partitions that may appear. If so, click the Yes button.
It's the time to set up your network. If you have the DHCP network, click Next. But if you have the static IP address, you have to set them. Click the Edit button and follow the instructions. If you have an IPv4 address, make sure it is enabled. If you have the IPv6 address, make sure it is enabled too. Check the manual configuration option and enter your IP address and net mask. Do the same for IPv6 address. Click OK once you are finished. There may be some options like setting the system host names and setting the DNS servers. Yes, you have to provide that. Follow the steps as mentioned in the previous screen to enter the network information. Now we have to select the city in which we lives in. Please select the city close to yours as shown. Now the important part, the root password. We have to type twice root password. Root is the administrator of the system. It is always advisable to give the strong root password, not just 12345. Here comes the partition part. If you have the empty hard drive, all you have to do is click Next. Make sure the Remove all partitions on selected drives and Create default layout option is selected. If you don't have the empty hard drive and you still want to install Fedora on your machine, then make sure you select the Use free space on selected drives and Create default layout option. Click Next. The most common case in installation is that you already have Windows installed and you want to try Fedora as well. Select option, remove Linux partitions on selected drives and create default layout. By default, the installation process erases any existing Linux partitions on the selected drives and replace them with the default set of partitions for Fedora. Is it not clear? Let's check once more. First, remove all partition on the selected drives and create the default layout. If the selected hard disk is brand new, or if you want to destroy all the data currently on the selected drives, use this option. This option removes all partition on the selected drives, even those used by non-Linux operating system. Means it will clear full hard drive. Second is, use free space on selected drives and create default layout. If the selected drives have free space that has not been assigned to any of the partition, this option installs Fedora into that free space. This option ensures that no existing partition is modified by the installation process. Third one is create custom layout. You manually specify the partitioning on the hard drives. The next screen enables you to configure the drives and partition for your computer. If you choose this option, Fedora creates no partition by default. As per the previous discussion, select the appropriate option. Here we will learn more about different partitions like swap, root, data, and primary partitions. A Fedora system has at least 3 partitions. First, a boot partition. Boot partition is a disk partition that contains the boot sector. Next, the root partition. The root partitions has the remaining files and folders which comes under root directory. Third is the swap partition. In Windows, virtual memory is there to expand the memory pool, but in Linux uses swap partitions. This is used to expand this pool by automatically moving the portions of memory between RAM and swap partitions if insufficient RAM is available. Is it not clear? Let's check once more. So what is partition? A disk partition is a defined storage space in the hard drive. There are 3 kinds of partitions: primary partition, extended partition, and logical partition. So the question is, why do we need partitions? To store the classified data. Multiple partitions on a disk can be organized in more effectively. The OS is installed in one partition and other some partition is created to store user data, documents, or games. Other advantage of partitioning includes the OS partition can be totally destroyed and reinstalled, but this does not affect the data partition. Primary partition and active partition. What are these? A primary partition is in which the operating system can be installed. 1 MBR, that is master boot record hard disk, may contain a maximum of 4 primary partitions. 3 if you have decided to have the extended partition. An active partition is based on primary partition. Any one of the 4 primary partition can be set as the active partition. Since there can be 4 primary partitions with 4 different operating systems installed, one of the partition that is marked active is used for the initial booting. The active partition contains the bootloader to load operating systems from the disk. What is extended partition and logical partition? An hard disk may contain only one extended partition, but the extended partition can be subdivided into the multiple logical partitions such as D, E, F drives. Swap partition. What is swap partition? If you manually specify the partition on your system, create one swap partition that has more capacity than computer RAM. Linux has two forms of swap space, the swap partition and the swap file. The swap partition is an independent section of the hard disk that is totally and solely for swapping. No other files can reside there. The swap file is the special file in the file system that resides amongst your system and data files. Swapping is the process whereby a page of memory is copied to the pre-configured space on the hard disk, called swap space, to free up that page of memory. This will boost the performance. The combined sizes of the physical memory and the swap space is the amount of virtual memory available. A swap's formatted partition has no mount point. This means swap doesn't actually mount anywhere on the file system. Next is root partition. The root partition is the slash, the root of the file system. Everything else stems from it. You'll want to choose the mount slash to your 100 GB, 50 GB or 10 GB as per your choice. It is the topmost directory. Each data partition has the mount point to indicate the system directory whose contents resides on that partition. Note that the partition numbers are counted from 0, not from 1. So HD01 means the second partition of the first hard drive. Similarly, HD04 specifies the first extended partition of the first hard drive. You can have up to 4 partitions, primary partitions, only one of which can be active at a given time. Primary partitions are bootable. Extended partitions can only contain data. So let us hear what is LVM and RAID by definition.
As per Wiki, the definition of LVM is a logical volume manager for the Linux kernel that manages disk drives and similar mass storage devices. Note, LVM is only available in the graphical installation program. As per Wiki, RAID, originally redundant array of inexpensive disks, now commonly redundant array of independent disks, is a data storage virtualization technology that combines multiple disk drive components into a logical unit for the purposes of data redundancy or performance improvement.
Okay, let me explain it in some detail. First we will discuss about LVM. LVM is a way in which you partition the hard drive logically. LVM provides more disk space at any points. That means you can increase the file system space by adding more disks at runtime. For example, suppose you have 2 hard drives or 40 GB capacity each. Is it possible for you to create a hard drive of size 60 GB? Yes, the answer is yes. You can do it by using LVM. With logical volume management, that is LVM, the whole disk would be allocated to a single volume group and logical volumes created to hold the / user and / home file systems. If, for example, the / home logical volume later filled up but there was still some space available on / user, then it would be possible to shrink the / user by few megabytes and reallocate that space to / home. There are many more features like resizing the partition in single command and without rebooting, which makes the job too easy. Now coming on to RAID, redundant array of inexpensive disk. RAID is basically used for redundancy. RAID is used for redundancy, for example, when your data gets lost due to corruption, you can get recovered by RAID. It is different from backup. A type of RAID like disk mirroring writes the data to a mirror drive so that you won't lose your data. RAID partitions are logically combined and a virtual drive appears to the higher layers of the operating system in place of multiple devices. This solution is often a very high performance and expensive alternative available for RAID users. MBR Master Boot Record. Select to install bootloader. Grab on /dev/sda. This is the MBR of the first hard disk of the computer. If you have installed Windows also, they will appear in the bootloader operating system list and you can choose the default. Of course, you can change this at any point of time.
Coming to the selection of packages which you want to install, the basic installation of Fedora includes software for general and internet usage. You can also select the package for software development or web servers. If you don't know what these packages are, leave them unselected. You can also choose what packages will be installed by clicking on Customize Now. If you want to install KDE, just choose Customize Now.
Now we have to select the packages which we want to install. As per the above figure, select the packages you want to install, for example KDE Desktop or Genome Desktop. If you do not want to select them now, then select the Customize Later option. When you click the next button, the installation will begin. This will take a few minutes depending on which all packages you have chosen for installation. When the installation is completed, remove the DVD from the tray and click the reboot button. Now the Fedora will restart. This is the welcome screen of Fedora. You will see it only for the first time when you boot in Fedora. This is the license information of Fedora. Now it's a time to create the user. This will be the default user that you will use to log in into the Linux. Make sure that the date and time are correct. You can also send the hardware profile to the Fedora project to provide feedback.
Congratulations, we have configured and installed the Fedora. Let us see what happens now and what we are going to see on the Fedora screen.
This is the Fedora login screen. And this is the Fedora default desktop environment, Genome.
So let us start the live session of Ubuntu installation. Here we are using VirtualBox for this. So we have clicked the start and VirtualBox is started. So this is the very first screen of the Ubuntu installation. So first we have to configure Ubuntu and then we have to install it. So it is asking for try Ubuntu from the CD itself or install Ubuntu. So we have clicked the Ubuntu. Now it is asking us to preparing to install Ubuntu. So Ubuntu requires 6.4 GB of available disk drive and the power source should be connected. So we click continue. Now we have to select the installation type. As was discussed in the Fedora installation, erase dist and install Ubuntu, or we can select the LVM, or we can give the memory layout as per our choice. So we have selected this. We will give the memory layout as per our choice and then we will press continue. So here we will press new partition table. We have to give the memory layout as per our choice. So the window comes here. Now we will select the swap partition and we will define the size of swap partition. So swap area
and then we'll define the size of the swap partition. So the size of the swap partition should be twice the size of the RAM which we are using. If the size of the RAM is 1 GB, then we have to give the size of the swap partition as 2 GB. So 2048 MB. Okay. Yeah, so here we can see swap partition has been allocated the space of 2048 MB. So now we'll define the boot partition. So click again to the plus. So we'll click the mount point and select boot partition. Then we have defined the size of boot partition, that is 1 GB. 1 GB size of the boot partition is more than sufficient. 1024 MB, and then click OK. So this partition is also added to the table. Then the left space is 14.1 GB. Now we can allocate this space to the root partition. Root partition is the partition where all the files resides under the root directory. This is also added. Then we'll press the install now button. Now we have to select the city in which we live in. Now the keyboard layout, that is English US. Now we have to give the username which we want to add to the Linux system. Your name, your computer's name. Then we have to give the password. Password should be strong enough. Then we'll press continue. Now it has started copying the files from DVD to the memory of the VirtualBox. Now it has started installing the Ubuntu. So while installation, it is doing many things. So now I think it is installed. Yes, the installation is complete, and now it is asking us to reboot the machine. So we click on restart now. So the machine is restarted. Now it is asking us to give the password, login password. So we type the login password and then press the enter button. Now yes, this is the first screen of Ubuntu. If you would like to see the black screen of terminal from where we'll shoot the commands, shell scripting commands, so we search the terminal in many of the utilities of Ubuntu system. The terminal is launched now, and in the next course we're going to learn about shell scripting in very much detail. Congratulations, we have completed the installation procedure. I have tailored the material here for the beginners. Any typical Microsoft Windows user should be able to understand the instructions here and install the Linux in less than an hour's time. The installation process will be slightly different for every distribution, but in general, the setup will be pretty much same. This was the first course in the series of many courses which I'll be offering on Linux operating system. The other courses will be about shell scripting. In the shell scripting course, we will learn about the various shells like sh, bash, editors like vim, emacs, and the shell commands in very much detail. All the commands will be covered. Then the other course will be about Linux kernel and writing the device drivers. This will be the separate course for each of these two, Linux kernel and device drivers. Next course will be real-time operating system, that is RTOS. The other course will be about programming in C and C++ with data structures. The other course will be about embedded system. So there will be many courses. It will be a long journey. I assure you it will be very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.